In October 2014, Volkswagen released the Up, and I, for one, was overjoyed because it meant that Volkswagen had an entry-level model that no longer relied on very old technology, like the Polo Vivo does, and like the City Golf did before that. And I was convinced then that the Up would absolutely dominate its similarly priced siblings. And I was absolutely wrong. Besides the fact that the average price of an Up is around 40,000 Rand less than the average price of a Polo Vivo hatch, the admittedly slightly bigger Vivo is still outselling the Up at a rate of 10 to 1. So as much as I'd love to say that the updated Up, now with 5 doors and some new models, is going to rectify that situation, this time around I'm prepared to sit down and keep quiet. And it's unlikely that the Cross Up will do the same. With its SUV pretensions and its silver mirror caps and its other silver and chrome accents, it is quite an attention-grabbing little thing. But yes, those mouldings and the roof rails are just for show. Far from being able to tackle any sort of off-road terrain, the Cross Up is as much a city dweller as any other in the range. Along with the other new model, the Colour Up, the styling of this car is what sets it apart, as well as some added convenience. When the Up was first launched, it was only available as a 2-door. The 2 new models are both 4-door options, and those extra doors have also been added to other Up models. The Cross Up arguably has the most Extrovert styling though. And an Extrovert interior as well, apparently. Both new Up models get a very colourful interior setup, and our test car makes do with a red dashboard inlay and red seats, although you can opt for a more mainstream black and grey combination. Although I'm not quite sure why you'd want to, because this colour scheme tells you exactly what this car is about. Colour choices aside, the standard kit in the Cross Up includes front electric windows and remote central locking, as well as aircon. What's missing, sadly and quite surprisingly, is a USB interface, although there is an aux connector for external media players. All in all, it's quite an unsurprising setup. Although the standard leather steering wheel is a nice touch, the rest of the plastics and materials are about what you'd expect in this class. Not cheap, but not exactly luxurious either. Those expectations are the same when it comes to the interior space. Overall load capacity is comparatively large, although it's obviously not massive, and it's helped by a split boot floor. There's no change on the engine front. It's still a 1-litre 3-cylinder, 55 kilowatts, 95 newton meters, and a 0 to 100 time that's, well, not very impressive at all. But it really does feel okay in city driving, and that includes the ability to keep up very well with highway traffic. Although it definitely needs the right gear for the job. The 5-speed manual is a good little unit, which helps when dropping a gear or two for a steep incline or for an overtake. It's not going to set the world on fire, but in terms of ease of use, there's not much to complain about with the Up's power plant. It's the same with the ride setup. It just feels sure-footed and confident, although on the open road it can feel a little harder than it should. But with a tiny turning circle and really good steering, the whole thing is really quite stress-free. The styling and the interior might be a bit shouty, but the drive in the Cross Up is really quite ordinary. You might take that as a bad thing, but in a budget car with a small engine, ordinary is a compliment. But the Cross Up doesn't have to be. Volkswagen offers some really good extras with this car. You can get a high-end sound system, you can get Bluetooth, cruise control, park distance control, heated seats. Sure, fitting every single one of those options would elevate this car a bit beyond its budget status, but even adding a few of those would make this the perfect little city car. Even though it looks like a 4x4. The recipe for most people's dream car usually doesn't include a 1-litre engine and a top speed of 167 kilometers an hour, but the reality is the times are tough, and the Up is more proof that you can end up with a comfortable, easy-to-use everyday car that does offer a touch of driving enjoyment without breaking the fragile bank. That said, the Cross Up is one of the more expensive cars in its class. Even the entry-level Smart 4.4 gets more spec for less money. But what it lacks in toys it makes up for with a good drive, unique looks and a little bit more personality than the rest. The naturally aspirated 1-litre motor in the up is matched to a good 5-speed manual gearbox. Although it generally feels good around town, it does occasionally require a gear shift or two to get the best out of it. With its wannabe SUV styling and Extrovert interior execution, the Cross Up does pack some personality. It's also comfortable with a comparatively large amount of load space, but it doesn't exactly come cheap.